Hello and welcome back to another Walking Dead video, and today I want to talk about how to save the Walking Dead franchise, because even if we do not want to admit it, this franchise only has a couple years left and it is slowly dying. Even if we have great shows right now, these new shows can't really last that long because they are based off of existing characters which have aging actors, and these actors have already played these characters for a decade. They don't want to play for another decade unless your name is Norman Reedus. And because of that, there's only so much story left. And in the case of Dead City, they're just retelling the same story over and over again with Maggie and Negan. And that's going to get stale at some point. We need some new, fresh ideas. We need some direction in this franchise. And I think there's some key things that Scott Gimple and AMC are just not doing, which is slowly draining this franchise from viewers and making this franchise just more obscure and eventually going to kill it. And that's my biggest worry, is that the mismanagement of the franchise is just going to completely kill this IP, but there are ways to save it, and that's why I'm making this video. So the first one is the simplest, and that is make this show, or make this franchise worldwide again. For years, the Walking Dead franchise has been a US or North American only show, and it's only recently been getting out into the world. They need to fast track that. There's a lot of countries which still cannot watch any of these spin-offs, and because of that, interest has dwindled around the world for this franchise. So get it out there, get the hype back around the world about The Walking Dead. Fast track deals, make sure that it is on as many different services as possible so that many people as possible can watch these shows. Number two, listen to the fans and give us the reunions we want, because for years AMC, all they've done is tease, oh, this character's gone to go find this character, this character's gone to find this character. We haven't seen one reunion other than we're going to get the Darren Carroll reunion, which probably no one really cared about. Everyone wants to have our characters reunite with Rick, or have Morgan reunite with the Alexandrians, and all they've done is go, okay, Rick's out there, Rick's home, oh, there's somebody home, and oh, I'm gonna go find Rick Grimes. But we're never seeing this, and it's got to the point where you have Scott Gimple being like, yeah, I don't want to do it because as soon as they reunite, it's over. So he's trying to milk everything instead of telling a nice story. And you have Norman Reedus also saying he doesn't want to reunite with Rick, but have Daryl find Rick's grave, which is not a very good idea. But to fix all of this, just have Rick be kind of this cameo character where he has minor roles in the big shows of reunions, and have Daryl reunite with Rick at the end of Daryl Dixon. Maybe have, if it ever happens, the big story that Scott Gimple's been talking about, this 8th spin-off, and have that be like a Walking Dead season 12 or anything but name, so you can have all these reunions. Give us this nice goodbye to all these characters, because all these characters have been spending years going towards one objective: finding Rick Grimes. Morgan's out there looking for Rick. Daryl was looking for Rick. You also had Michonne, but she's now found Rick. So we need to have these final few characters meet up with Rick so we can get all these reunions and fans can finally be satisfied that Rick Grimes' story is done. Imagine how much hype that would build up to have all these characters finally reunite. That would add a lot of interest to the show, to build up this hype, have this big satisfying reunion in maybe one of the shows or a big spin-off. That's what this franchise needs, just to have a big hurrah, a final conclusion to the current story of the Walking Dead franchise, and to be a goodbye to Rick Grimes, because even though we've had a goodbye to Rick Grimes, it's still kind of open-ended because, oh, Rick hasn't met with this character, or what's going to happen off screen apparently. It's a bit disappointing. So give us a nice big reunion and a nice ending. My next point is, we now ended the stories. Maybe one story still continues, like maybe Daryl Dixon, he's still around somewhere because Norman Reedus can play him for years and he's always a great. Give us new shows, new stories, new characters. Make the franchise fresh again. And that's what made Fear so great back at the start, is that it was brand new characters, brand new location. It wasn't relying on The Walking Dead. That's what we need again. Bring new life into this franchise by giving us new, interesting locations, characters, and plot lines. Give us what everyone wants. A day one apocalypse. What Fear originally was, but have it take place about the actual outbreak itself instead of kind of skipping straight until we're now in the apocalypse. We want more drama like that. We do not want to be 10, 20 years into the apocalypse, because then it just gets a bit boring and all the walkers are the same and every character is an absolute badass and has massive plot armor. So give us brand new stories, brand new characters, and even if it is taking place years after, you can have new characters but have a couple old characters but aged up in it. So you can give us a Walking Dead Next Generation. So give us something fresh in this franchise and not rely on the current cast over and over again. And finally, get rid of Scott Gimple. He has absolutely ruined this franchise beyond repair. He killed off Carl and tanked The Walking Dead, and then got promoted, and the first thing he did was fire Eric Davison and then destroy Fear the Walking Dead by hiring Ian and Andrew, the Yes Men, which caused Frank Delane to want to leave the show. And those were his first actions, completely destroying 2 shows and then go on to make 2 more absolutely terrible shows before he learnt how to be an executive producer of the franchise. But even though he was no longer touching The Walking Dead, he was still hurting that because Angela Kang wants to write Rick into the final season. But Gimple did not want that. He wanted to have maybe a cameo at max so that he could go off and do his own thing with Rick, because he wanted to do these movies, which never happened. He wanted to go off and make all these shows, which never happened. Gimple was a man with many ideas, but doesn't have the ability to make them happen a lot of the time. And the only reason we got The Ones Who Live is because Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrero really pushed to finish those stories. They wanted to do that, and they kind of pushed Gimple over the finish line to make the show. Gimple is not a great executive producer of a franchise. He was an okay showrunner until he got greedy, and he is a great writer. He deserves to be maybe just a writer on all the shows, not the eyes around the entire franchise, because it's all over the place with quality. It might be getting better now, but it's still 7 shows and only half of them are good. That's not a good track record. There is no direction. Get someone in here that understands the Walking Dead franchise and understands where we need to go to keep this franchise alive and fresh, because Gimple is not that man in my opinion. But this is just my opinion, so please tell me down below. Do you agree with my ways how to fix the Walking Dead franchise, or do you think it's thriving right now? I think it is doing well, but that doing well will not last forever. We need to make some drastic changes at some point to keep this franchise around for maybe up to 10 years. So please tell me your thoughts down below. But this is me today, so goodbye, and I'll talk to you later.